Today, we step into a realm of understanding where something as simple as salt carries the power to transform destinies. Every curse, every invisible chain that's tried to bind you, today we break it with divine wisdom and unstoppable authority. Prepare yourself for a shift. You are not designed to live under the weight of limitations. You are not created to be stuck under cycles of failure, fear, or frustration. Deep within you, there is an authority, a force that can shatter the invisible barriers standing in your way. And today, we unlock it through one of the simplest yet most profound elements known to humanity. Salt. Salt is more than just a seasoning. Salt is a symbol. Salt is a statement. Salt is an agent of change. For centuries, civilizations have understood that salt has power. It preserves, it purifies, it heals, and it protects. But few realize that salt is also a weapon against the unseen forces that work to keep you bound. You see, when you understand the hidden authority in salt, you begin to understand your own authority. You were never meant to be dominated by curses, generational patterns, or unseen battles. No, you were meant to rise above them, to neutralize them, and to walk in total freedom. Salt reminds us of permanence, of covenant, of unbreakable strength. When salt is applied to anything decaying, it stops the rot, it halts the destruction, it preserves what would have otherwise been lost. And if salt can do that in the natural world, what do you think it can do in the spiritual realm? Imagine this. Every negative word ever spoken against you, every cycle of defeat that keeps repeating itself, every silent curse operating in the shadows of your life, neutralized, dissolved, broke, simply because you dared to tap into the principle of salt. This is not superstition, this is wisdom. This is understanding how the earth itself carries symbols of power, if only we know how to activate them. When salt touches something, it does not ask for permission to change it, just changes it. And so must you. You must see yourself as salt, walking into environments, walking into broken family lines, walking into cursed bloodlines, and stopping the decay, stopping the destruction, ending the curse. The authority hidden in salt is the authority hidden in you. The more you recognize it, the more you will refuse to accept anything less than victory in your life. It's time to stop asking for freedom and start declaring it. It's time to stop waiting for breakthrough and start becoming the breakthrough. And just when you think you've understood the surface of salt's power, wait until you discover how this simple element, this ancient treasure, can break curses, not just over your life, but over your entire bloodline. Get ready, because next we are diving even deeper into breaking generational curses and unlocking the elemental power that's been in your hands all along. Some of the battles you are facing today didn't start with you. Some of the struggles in your mind, your finances, your relationships, are echoes from generations before you. But here's the truth, just because it started before you, does not mean it has to continue through you. Breaking generational curses is not just about fighting for your freedom. It's about fighting for the freedom of your bloodline. It's about standing up and saying, "This ends with me." But how? How do you break what seems invisible? How do you stop what has been running through your family for decades? You do it by recognizing the elemental power that has been given to you, the power within your hands, the power within your authority, the power symbolized by salt. Salt doesn't negotiate with decay. Salt doesn't beg destruction to leave. Salt shows up, and destruction leaves because it has no choice. In the same way, when you understand who you are and what you carry, curses must bow to your authority. They have no choice. Maybe you've seen patterns of divorce, patterns of poverty, patterns of sickness, patterns of brokenness, moving from one generation to the next like a terrible inheritance. But today, you are called to be the one who breaks the pattern. You are called to be the one who says no more. You are called to be the salt that preserves what is good and destroys what is evil. Every negative pattern in your bloodline can be neutralized by one person who understands the principle of salt, and that person is you. You don't have to accept the label they tried to put on you. You don't have to walk in the footsteps of failure they laid out for you. You don't have to repeat the story, you have the power to write a new ending. And that new ending starts when you rise up, take your authority, and apply the principle of salt intentionally, boldly, fearlessly. Breaking a generational curse is not about emotion, it's about decision. It's about revelation. It's about knowing who you are and what you have been given. It's about standing in the power of salt and declaring that the rot, the decay, the destruction stops now. Can you feel the shift is already beginning? Chains are already weakening. Walls are already trembling. History is about to be rewritten, and you are the author. But don't get comfortable yet, because if salt can break curses over your bloodline, imagine what it can do in the unseen battles you didn't even know you were fighting. Get ready, because next we're going even deeper into how salt becomes a weapon against invisible bondage you cannot see but were always meant to conquer. There are battles you can see, and there are battles you cannot see. There are struggles that show up in the natural, and there are chains that exist only in the invisible realm. But whether you can see them or not, hear me today. If they are trying to bind you, block you, or break you, you have the power to defeat them. Salt, the silent force, was never designed just for flavor or preservation. Salt was designed to fight. Salt is heaven's weapon against invisible bondage. And when you understand how to wield it, chains begin to shatter, even the ones you didn't know were there. Every invisible curse, every hidden stronghold, every unseen limitation operating behind the scenes of your life must answer to authority, and salt represents that authority in a powerful, undeniable way. Salt works without making a sound. Salt doesn't need applause. Salt doesn't ask for attention. It simply does the job, quietly, completely, powerfully. And that's exactly how you are going to move from this moment forward. Not begging for freedom, but walking in freedom. Not pleading for change, but becoming the change. Imagine invisible walls around your opportunities, your health, your purpose. Walls built by words, by actions, by generational patterns you didn't even start. Walls you cannot touch, but you can feel. Walls that show up every time you try to move forward. Now picture yourself taking the principle of salt, the authority of salt, and beginning to apply it, silently but powerfully. Those walls begin to dissolve. Chains that held you back for years begin to break without warning. Curses that once intimidated you begin to collapse without a sound. That's the power you are stepping into today. You are not at the mercy of invisible bondage. You are not a victim of what you cannot see. You are a victor, armed with wisdom, armed with authority, armed with the power of salt. And the moment you believe it, is the moment everything changes. Today, you activate that weapon. Today you step into a new dimension, where what once controlled you, will now be subject to you. The invisible loses its grip when salt shows up. Bondage bows when salt takes its place. Freedom reigns when salt is applied. But we are not stopping here, oh no, because if salt can break invisible bondage, if it can tear down unseen walls, what do you think it can do to the very structure of your life story? Get ready. Because next we are stepping into how salt has the power to transform your life, from bitter to blessed. Life can sometimes leave a bitter taste in your mouth. Dreams delayed, promises broken, opportunities missed, can leave you feeling empty, frustrated, even forgotten. But I came to tell you today, bitterness is not your final destination. You were designed for blessing, for purpose, for fulfillment. And salt holds the key to that transformation. Salt doesn't just preserve what exists. Salt changes what it touches. Salt takes what is tasteless, what is empty, what is bitter, and brings it into balance. It restores what was missing. It revives what was dying. It heals what was broken. There is a divine chemistry at work when salt is applied, and that chemistry is available to you right now. You don't have to stay stuck in cycles of bitterness. You don't have to keep tasting the pain of the past. You have the authority to sprinkle salt over every bitter area of your life, and watch it transform into a life of blessing. Maybe your relationships have been bitter. Maybe your finances have been bitter. Maybe your health, your purpose, your calling have felt dried out, empty, tasteless. But when you apply the principle of salt, bitterness must surrender to blessing. Scarcity must surrender to abundance. Failure must surrender to favor. Salt doesn't just make things bearable, it makes them beautiful. It takes what should have been discarded and makes it valuable again. It takes what should have been forgotten and makes it unforgettable. That's the power working in your favor right now. You don't have to force it. You don't have to fight it. You simply have to apply it. Apply the principle of salt with your words, with your actions, with your authority, and watch the chemistry of heaven turn your bitterness into blessing. Today you declare over your life, no more bitter cycles, no more bitter memories, no more bitter endings. Today, you take what was meant for your destruction and watch it become the platform for your elevation. But here's the beautiful part. The blessing doesn't stop with you. When you transform bitterness into blessing, you also change the environment around you. You shift atmosphere. You create a legacy. You become the salt that seasons the lives of others without even trying. This transformation is bigger than one moment. It's bigger than one breakthrough. It's about becoming someone who carries the power of salt wherever you go, someone who leaves the flavor of blessing behind, no matter what the enemy intended for harm. But hold on, because we're about to take this even further. If salt can transform your life from bitter to blessed, what happens when it starts shattering barriers you didn't even know were there? Get ready, because next we are unveiling how the silent force of salt breaks through every invisible wall standing between you and your destiny. Some of the strongest forces in your life are not loud, they are silent. Some of the greatest barriers you face aren't announced, they're hidden. But hear me today, just because a wall is invisible doesn't mean it's invincible. Salt operates the same way. It doesn't make a lot of noise. It doesn't draw attention to itself. It moves in silence, but its effects are undeniable. When salt touches a wound, healing begins. When salt enters decay, preservation starts. When salt meets corruption, purification takes over. Silent, but powerful. Hidden, but unstoppable. In your life, there are walls that have been built up over time. Walls of fear, walls of insecurity, walls of limitation, walls you didn't even realize were there until you tried to move forward and felt something invisible push back. But today you are armed with a force that is designed to penetrate what human strength cannot touch. The silent force of salt. Salt doesn't need to shout to change its environment. Salt doesn't need to announce itself to make a difference. It simply shows up, and everything That's the power that has been placed within your reach. That's the force you are called to activate. Imagine every invisible barrier around your opportunities, your relationships, your future, now beginning to crumble simply because you carried salt into the situation. Not by force, not by noise, but by presence. The presence of authority, the presence of understanding, the presence of salt. You are not supposed to live behind walls. You are not supposed to be trapped behind limitations. You are not supposed to be fenced in by fear. You are called to break through, to expand, to enlarge, to take territory, and salt is the silent weapon that leads the way. Every time you speak with authority, every time you walk with purpose, every time you operate with faith, it's like you're sprinkling salt on the invisible walls around you, and the walls cannot resist. They have to weaken, they have to break, they have to fall. Salt has no respect for obstacles, and neither should you. Today you rise above the walls. Today you move beyond what was supposed to contain you. Today the silent force within you becomes louder than any resistance around you. But don't think for a moment that salt's work stops here. Oh no. Because if salt can shatter walls and break curses in silence, imagine what happens when salt forms a covenant, a bond that no force in earth or spirit can break. Get ready, because next we are diving into how salt becomes a covenant of victory, securing your breakthrough, your blessing, and your future forever. Victory was never meant to be temporary. Breakthrough was never meant to be seasonal. True victory is supposed to be permanent, sealed and undeniable. And salt, yes, salt holds the secret to making your breakthrough last. Salt is not just an agent of change. It is a symbol of covenant. It represents something lasting, something binding, something that refuses to be broken. When salt was used to form an agreement, it meant the agreement was unchangeable, unshakable, unbreakable. It meant that what was spoken, what was promised, What was declared would stand, no matter what forces tried to come against it. When you step into the power of salt, you are stepping into a covenant of victory. You are saying, my breakthrough is not a moment, it's a lifestyle. My freedom is not a feeling, it's a foundation. My blessing is not a one-time event, it's an eternal reality. Salt doesn't change with the seasons. Salt doesn't disappear with the storms. Salt remains. Salt endures. Salt holds its ground. And that is the kind of power you are called to walk in, not shifting with circumstances, not bowing to pressures, not breaking under attack. You are called to stand. Maybe before your victories seem to slip away. Maybe you would take one step forward and two steps back. Maybe you tasted breakthrough but it didn't last. That ends today, because now you are entering into a covenant where what you break stays broken, where what you conquer stays conquered, where what you establish cannot be uprooted. Salt locks the victory into place. It seals the covenant so tightly that no curse, no bondage, no force can undo what has been established. And that's what is happening in your life right now. The cycles of defeat are being replaced by cycles of dominion. The curses of yesterday are being replaced by covenants of today. This is why understanding salt is so crucial. It's not just about breaking free, it's about staying free. It's not just about experiencing victory, it's about living in victory. Every day, every season, every moment. The salt covenant guarantees that the ground you take, the walls you break, the curses you end, stay ended. It secures your destiny. It seals your freedom. It protects your legacy. But don't get too comfortable just yet, because if salt can preserve your victory and establish a covenant over your life, what happens when it begins to work inside you, preserving your very identity, making you untouchable, unstoppable, and unshakable? Get ready, because next we're stepping into the mystery of preservation and discovering how salt keeps your life untouchable by every force that tries to take you out. Victory is powerful, but preservation is what makes victory permanent. Freedom is a gift, but preservation is what keeps you walking in it every single day. And salt, yes, salt was designed to preserve what matters most: your life, your purpose, your identity. Salt stops decay. Salt stops corruption. Salt says to the forces of destruction, you can come this far, but no further. And that's exactly what salt does in your life. When you understand how to use it, it creates a barrier, an invisible shield that keeps your destiny from being contaminated, corroded, or compromised. You were not created to start strong and finish weak. You were not designed to shine for a season and then fade away. You were meant to endure, to last, to remain powerful, effective, and full of purpose until the very end. But hear me today, it doesn't happen automatically. Preservation must be intentional. You have to choose to apply the salt. You have to choose to guard what has been entrusted to you. The same salt that breaks curses, the same salt that establishes covenant, is the salt that preserves your mind, your strength, your favor, your influence. Think about it. What good is it to win battles, break curses, build success, only to lose it because it wasn't preserved? What good is it to climb to new heights, only to be pulled down by invisible decay? That's why salt is not optional. It's essential. Salt keeps your mind sharp when distractions come. Salt keeps your heart pure when offenses try to enter. Salt keeps your vision clear when storms start to rise. It doesn't mean battles won't come. It means when they come, they won't be able to rot what you have built. You are not just breaking curses for a moment. You are building a legacy that must last. You are not just fighting for your victory. You are preserving the future for those who will come after you. Your children, your family, your community. They are counting on the salt within you to preserve the breakthrough you are birthing right now. The power of salt is that it works quietly, but its results are loud. The power of salt is that it works invisibly, but its protection is undeniable. And today, you step into that mystery, the mystery of lasting victory, the mystery of unstoppable preservation. But don't stop here, because if salt can preserve your life, your purpose, and your victory, what happens when you start using salt not just but offensively? advancing, expanding, and taking over territories that were once locked away from you. Get ready, because next we are diving into how the power of salt activates expansion and positions you to take ground that others said was impossible to reach. You were never designed to just survive. You were created to expand. You were never meant to stay trapped inside walls of limitation. You were called to stretch, to grow, to take territory. And salt, yes, salt, is a secret weapon for expansion. Salt doesn't just protect what already exists. Salt prepares the way for something greater. Salt moves into spaces where decay once ruled and brings restoration. Salt enters dead places and stirs up life. Salt moves into forgotten places and makes them valuable again. When you carry the authority of salt, you don't wait for opportunities. You create them. You don't sit back and hope for open doors. You open doors. You don't just inherit territories. You take territories. That's what expansion looks like. And that's what you were born to do. Salt doesn't ask permission. Salt doesn't apologize for its presence. Salt shows up, and everything has to adjust. And that is the mindset you must walk in. The mindset that says, when I show up, things must shift. When I speak, atmospheres must change. When I move, walls must fall. You see, expansion isn't about striving harder. It's about stepping into who you already are. It's about recognizing that the authority has already been given to you. The authority to stretch beyond where you've been, to break into places you've never been, to occupy spaces that once seemed impossible. There are dreams in your heart right now that feel bigger than your current reality. There are visions that seem out of reach. But hear me, they are not too big for the salt within you. The dreams were placed there because the salt was placed there too. You were wired for expansion. You were built for more. The same salt that preserves is the salt that propels. The same salt that protects is the salt that pushes you into new dimensions. You are not limited by what you see. You are not confined by what others say. You are fueled by a force that refuses to settle, refuses to shrink, refuses to die. Today is the day you shake off every mindset of limitation. Today is the day you break through every invisible barrier that said you can't. Today is the day you activate the salt inside you and expand in your vision, in your influence, in your assignment. But don't stop here, because if salt can cause you to expand into new territories, if it can cause you to take ground that once seemed out of reach, what happens when salt empowers you to walk in full authority, to speak and watch heaven respond? Get ready, because next we are stepping into the power of speaking with salted authority and learning how to command your atmosphere like never before. There's a difference between just speaking and speaking with salted authority. Anybody can talk, anybody can shout, but when you open your mouth with salt on your tongue, the atmosphere has no choice but to respond. Salted words don't just fill the air, they shift the air. Salted words don't just sound good, they create change. When salt is in your speech, every word carries, every declaration carries power, every command carries the force of breakthrough. You were never meant to speak empty words. You were never called to just echo noise. You were created to command your environment, to set things in motion, to decree outcomes that align with your destiny. That's the authority that salt gives your voice. When salt is missing, words fall flat, dreams get delayed, vision gets clouded. But when salt is present, every word becomes a seed that breaks through dry ground, a seed that brings forth fruit, a seed that refuses to die until it produces what was spoken. Imagine for a moment, your words not just inspiring people, but impacting your voice not just making noise, but making history. Your declarations not just reaching ears, but shaking foundations. That's what happens when your speech is salted with authority. But here's the key. It's not about speaking louder. It's about speaking from a deeper place, a place of conviction, a place of understanding, a place where you know who you are, what you carry, and who sent you. Salted speech isn't about sounding impressive. It's about releasing impact. It's about speaking words that are too powerful to return empty. It's about declaring with such precision, such weight, such force, that the environment itself has to align with your voice. You speak, and fear has to flee. You speak, and sickness has to bow. You speak, and confusion has to clear. You speak, and blessings have to be released. This is why your words matter so much. This is why your declarations cannot be casual. Every time you open your mouth, you are either building your destiny or allowing it to drift. But when you salt your speech with authority, with intentionality, with purpose, you become unstoppable. Today your voice gets seasoned. Today your declarations become dynamic. Today your speech carries salt and everything you speak must respond. But don't get too comfortable yet, because if salt can empower your speech to command atmosphere, imagine what happens when salt starts flowing through your actions, making everything you touch prosper. Get ready, because next we are unlocking how salt activates the power of your hands, turning ordinary moments into extraordinary miracles. Your hands are more than just tools for work. They are instruments of creation, instruments of transformation. When you understand the power of salt, you begin to realize that everything you touch can be changed, renewed, restored, and empowered to produce the very results you desire. Salt doesn't just act on what's around you, it acts on what you touch. When salt enters a situation, it begins to release its transformative power into everything it comes into contact with. This is the same power that flows through your hands when you understand the authority you hold. Your hands were never meant to be just a means of labor. They are instruments of destiny, and salt gives those hands the power to bring your visions to life, to create what has been dormant, to build what has been broken. Salt empowers your touch to go beyond the physical realm. It activates the potential that's already within you. Think about the things you touch every day: your work, your relationships, your opportunities, your dreams. What if every time you touched something, salt infused that moment, that task, that project with purpose? What if your hands carried so much power that when they touched something, it couldn't help but transform? That's the kind of power that salt brings to your life. The reason some people are stuck is because they don't realize the potential of their hands. They don't understand the capacity to create, to build, to restore, and to elevate. But when you activate the salt within you, your hands become tools of miracle. They become the vessel through which your breakthrough flows. This is why you must be intentional about what you touch. Don't waste your time with things that don't align with your purpose. Your hands are precious, and when you apply the principle of salt, everything they touch must reflect the greatness within you. Every decision, every action, every relationship, when touched by your hands, they must shift, they must elevate, they must prosper. Salt isn't just for seasoning, it's for activating what's been locked up. It's for transforming what's been stagnated. It's for elevating what's been downcast. And when you start touching your life with salted hands, you begin to see things happen that were once impossible. So today you take authority over every area your hands will touch. You declare that your hands will never be the same. They are no longer ordinary. They are empowered, anointed, and designed for greatness. From this moment on, everything you touch begins to shift into alignment with your purpose. As you walk into your day, remember this: your hands are the key to unlocking the fullness of your potential. The power to shape your future, to build your destiny, and to transform your environment is in your hands. Salt is your tool, your gift, your secret weapon. Now as you stand ready to take hold of what's in your grasp, prepare, because the ultimate power of salt is about to be revealed in ways that will blow your mind. And now you're fully equipped to create a future like no other. Are you ready to touch greatness with your